Good morning, everyone. Thank you for being patient as we're assembling. As you know, all it takes is one little, not one little, but takes a blockage on I-15 either direction, and folks can't get here. So we have one coming from the north, Member Spiker, who's on her way. Will be here just a moment, who was slowed down in that case. Member Olson will be online with us today, not wanting to spread germs to the rest of us, which we appreciate, Member Olson, actually, so thank you so much. And other than that, I think we are assembled. We're starting earlier today, and so it's getting us up and going so that we have a full day today and a lot of activity beyond our official board meeting today. So we welcome everyone here today. A welcome to those who support the work that's done here, in addition to board members, including AAG Jones, who's with us today, and we appreciate that. And those of you who are here to present today and to speak to us, we appreciate your time as well, and to share with us as we get started. We're going to start with public comment. Oh, good. There we go. So today we're going to start with the Pledge of Allegiance, and I've asked if Vice Chair Phillips will lead us in that chair.
Join me in saying the pledge. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Now we'll go to public comment, and we're happy to have folks who'll come in and speak to us, and so thank you for taking your time to do that. We limit public comment to 3 minutes each, and know that we're listening carefully to you, but know that we won't respond or have discussion or questions because we haven't noticed necessarily your individual comments on our board agenda. Therefore, we can't really officially discuss those at this time, but we are listening carefully and considering the comments that you make. So we'll start. We have some online and some present. Welcome. I'll also welcome Deputy Superintendent Stallings, who's with us as well. So thank you so much for being with us. Okay, let me start with some of those. We'll kind of maybe go back and forth. So I'm seeing, in order for us to get through all of these numbers, right?
Well,
so there's
only 5 people.
Okay. So let me start online with Jeanette Miande. I'm sorry if I mispronounce your last name. Jeanette, are you with us online?
Yes, I am.
All right. Would you lead off today, please? And we have a 3-minute limit so that we can give everyone ample time, but we have to limit it based on the time that we have in total. So will you please go ahead, Jeanette, as you're ready.
Yes. So my name's actually Janetta Mindel, but that's okay.
Thank you.
I am an alum of Providence Hall High School, and I graduated with my full IB diploma along with my regular high school diploma. And I just wanted to speak to the importance of the IB program, and how it develops students holistically. Not just is it academically rigorous, but it focuses on aspects of community service and personal development that truly turned us into global citizens and better citizens in general. And it prepared me so well for college that I graduated a semester early, started coursework in my master's degree, and am still looking for something that's more challenging than traditional college coursework because of how academically rigorous and how much the IB program pushed me. Yeah, so that's what I have to say.
Thank you, Jeanette. And James, did you want to add as well? James, I'm sure you're commenting and we want to hear every word, but we can't hear you. Are you muted by any chance or?
I was just unmuting.
Thank you.
It
Thank
was
you.
taking a moment. I was going to do an additional comment that is my younger sister. She is the one who did get to graduate with the IB diploma. My name is James Mindel. I am the class president of the 2015 Providence Hall graduating class, the first graduating class that came out of Providence Hall High School. And I just wanted to put in my support for the IB diploma, as it has taught me so much to be an independent thinker, a person who always strives to look and challenge what I've been told and taught. I've always used it to help myself look at a problem and find every single possible outcome, and plenty of ways that people did not expect for me to find a solution for something. And all this was traits I learned from the IB program, with being an inquirable, knowledgeable, thinking, a communicator, principled, and with the open-minded and a risk taker. I was also going to be speaking on behalf of my brother, JP, or Jarwat Mindel, who's unable to attend. This is just a statement from him. He is a twice gifted student, a chemistry major currently at Seton Hall, who has founded and is running a public speaking initiative. He's also was a wrestler in high school and founded a slam poetry team. He stated, "Because of the concepts and ideas I was exposed to at Providence Hall, it gave me the drive to inquire further into math, so much so that I'm still running into different math concepts that I have already taught myself, even though I am 3 years into college. This is because of the IB program. I took a physical application of mathematical techniques class, and the class took a look at physics through math. I already knew this concept because I had already been taught this concept at Providence Hall, as well as a concept that each subject, such as math, art, science, history, and all others, are connected to one another in multiple ways, whereas my fellow peers did not have this and had to be taught this." And that's about all I have. Hopefully my mother, Kama Mindel, will be able to speak, but if she cannot speak, I do have her testament as well, if it comes to that.
30 seconds.
Thank you. I have also comma Mendel. Is that to whom you're referring, James?
Yes, Kama Mindel.
Thank you so much. So is Kama online?
Yes. Can you hear me? I'm
Yes,
here.
we can, Kama. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you. I hope I don't cut out. I am on vacation, but I feel that this is so important that I wanted to make sure I spoke. I have written a letter, so I'm just going to read it so that I can get to the point. Good morning, Charter School Board members. My name is Kama Mindel, and I am a former employee of Providence Hall and a parent of 4 former students. I am writing this letter in support of the International Baccalaureate program at Providence Hall. As a family, we started at Providence Hall, and the first year the school was open in 2008 with a first grader, second grader, third grader, and sixth grader. And I was an employee in the special education department. We knew very little about the IB program or its philosophies behind education. At the end of our journey, we have all come to love the IB program and what it offers students, families, and employees. Each of my children have grown to be lifelong learners due to the IB program. Our family as a whole has taken the IB learner profiles and made them our own. We learned from our time spent at Providence Hall to be risk takers and open-minded, which has led us to Arizona, Minnesota, New Jersey, New Mexico, and soon my husband and I will be risk takers and going to Malaysia. We have learned to be thinkers and knowledgeable, challenging ourselves to continue to grow and seek improving ourselves. We learned to be balanced and reflective, taking the time to look at our lives, education, careers, and ensure we are sensible, healthy, and objective. We have learned to be communicators, continuing to grow in this area, and it has led us to new and challenging opportunities. Lastly, we have taken the challenge of caring for our communities, looking for how we can help those around us. As my children attended and I worked at Providence, the IB program became more than just another philosophy. It became who we are. That was what the International Baccalaureate program is about, helping to improve the world one family at a time. And indeed, it has for the Mindel family. We learned to look at the world not as bystanders, but as active participants who care to make a difference. I've had one child who attended both Providence Hall and a local high school. This child of mine would come home daily frustrated after switching out of Providence Hall. He would state, "Mom, all they want me to do is memorize answers for a test. They do not care if I learn. They do not want me to be a thinker or inquisitive. I am told we do not have the time for that." I hurt for this child, but due to struggles with the special education department at the high school at Providence Hall, we had to move him. He took both IB classes and AP classes and often stated AP
15
was
seconds.
not letting him learn.
Kama, we're at the end of that 3 minutes. I want you to be able to sum up if there's anything you want to add just in a
yes.
sentence or two.
In conclusion, it would be very sad for Providence Hall to change the charter from an IB program to anything else. The students and families at Providence Hall would lose much more than a good program. They would lose a connection to the global community. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Kama, and thank you from vacation, providing comments for us as well today. Thank you so much. The other one we have online, the only other that we have in our notes is Stephanie Wilkinson. Stephanie, are you online?
Yes, I'm here.
Thank you. And we can hear you, so if you'd like to go ahead, thank you.
Great. Okay. Well, first I wanted to say I was made aware of last month's board meeting after that occurred and was able to watch and participate in that. And I appreciate the dedication that all of you make to understanding the whole situation and gathering that information for the school to be able to take the time to do that and bring it to you this month. I was surprised to hear in that one that the parents had been involved in that decision or had been notified or given a survey prior to that. So that was part of what I wanted to share today, because we have 6 children at Providence Hall, and last year had an incoming junior, and there was kind of a last minute meeting that needed to be attended for her to switch her classes because of the IB program not being implemented at that time. So I think I hope going forward with this, that whichever way things land with the IB program, where I have been extremely happy with it, and she was planning to take that course for her diploma, but then unable to, that parents and the students and staff are all able to be informed, because I do believe that's a big core of Providence Hall that we love about that, is to think and act responsibly, be purposeful and solution driven, where I just haven't seen that in action here. And from the statistics that I've seen on the different courses and what credits are going to be allowed, it seems that some courses in the IB program provide more credits than AP going forward. And there may be more classes for AP, but it seems that if students were informed and had access to that list when they were choosing their path, they'd be able to choose the best path forward for their personal education. I think the IB program really does make Providence Hall stand out, where we have a lot of other large public schools in the area that can provide AP, IB, or not IB, but AP and CE credits. Providence Hall really does stand out in this area for that IB program.
Thank you, Stephanie. We appreciate your comments as well. Thank you. I believe that's all that we have online who wanted to give comment, but we have 3 in person who would like to join us, and I'll just ask each of you as I call your name one at a time to come up and sit at this table with us, please, and push the speak button on the microphone so that we can all hear you, and those who may be listening online can hear you as well. So I'll start with Penny Thompson. Helps to sit down too, Penny, I think. So come on up. And then just push that speak button. When you see the red light on the mic, you'll know you're active. There you go.
It's not right in my face, or is that okay? Right in my face?
Yeah, that's
Okay,
good.
perfect.
Thanks.
Okay. Good morning, Board. As a parent of 3 Providence Hall students, I come to you out of concern. My oldest child attended a regular district school from kindergarten to 5th grade. He entered Providence Hall Junior High the year that it opened to 6th grade, and he has since graduated. My second oldest began the same year in kindergarten in 2010 because he was family dinner, however you say that. He will be a junior in the fall. My last attending has attended from kindergarten to 8th grade this year to start 9th in the fall. In 2010, the fullest extent of the IB program was at work, and it was magic. It was incredible. The quality of the material and capabilities that the teachers had at the time were unmatched. Take, for example, the collaboration areas. In these spaces, I witnessed incredible creative thinking. This is not to say that the kids didn't have the very best qualified teachers that made all of the difference, because they were given the training to do so. Also, because of the academic program focused on teaching critical thinking skills, I decided I would use some of those critical thinking skills in my letter to you today. In the current environment, I'm concerned that we need to think deeper. We need to analyze every issue, to see it from somebody else's viewpoint, and always look not just for the right answer, but for the next right answer. Are we thinking at a much deeper level? Are we considering what the program entails and what losing it means, and not just reciting what we've been told? Are we considering so in thinking deep enough, are we considering the ramifications of what it means to cut off the program as it stands? If we lose what has already been built, then what? After researching through past meetings and seeing steps taken, I have yet to see benefits. It seems like the steps that have been taken have already had consequences far from what would be desirable. I don't even have children at the elementary anymore, yet I'm concerned for prospective students along with the staff. Are we considering how all of the changes that are happening and have happened will affect those children? The playground that had half removed wasn't large enough to service the children that were there as it was. How have these changes already impacted our hardworking teachers? Why are we doing this? If the elementary is the school to keep the IB program, why is that the school to suffer? To fund the junior high and high school, are the student numbers decreasing? Didn't we used to have a wait list to enroll? What is it that has changed this? Are we analyzing the issue properly? Are the replacement options mentioned by the school going to be accepted by Utah schools, not to mention out-of-state Utah universities more? Is the Patriot program recognized by universities? I understand that to some, the IB is strictly about college credit. To us, it has meant so much more.
15 seconds.
Oh, sorry. Surely it has to be better solution than just reading the school of a carefully planned, studied, proven, and accredited through what had to be hundreds of hours system that works. Are we seeing the viewpoint of others? I'll just close out. I'm just concerned for the magic that was there originally, and if we take that away from these kids that they don't even know what they're missing. And for my children, that made all of the difference. And like I said, my kid didn't even do the IB college program, the high school program, but he is at the U, and he is amazing, and he's on the dean's list most semesters.
Thank you so much, Ms. Thompson.
Thank
you for
hearing me.
speaking to us today. Thank you so much. And the next one, London Nelson. Thank you. Sorry to have to cut folks off, but just in interest of time, and to give each an equal voice. Thanks. You sorry? Freeman, all right.
Speak once now. Okay, got it. I can do hard things.
Yeah, it said Nelson on the sign-up sheet.
Yeah.
That's why I said that.
No,
Okay.
that's cool. So I am actually speaking on behalf of, I'm a former board member and employee and parent of kids at Providence Hall. My kids started the day that Providence Hall opened. I was looking for an alternative to just standard public education because I had kids that were kind of square pegs getting pounded into a round hole, and it wasn't working. And I was on the board when we had former students come and beg us to build a high school. And I had the opportunity of being there and being able to say, yes, we will do that. And we we're able to answer basically dreams for these kids and build them high school and have them come back and be able to apply all of the learner profiles and the skills that they had learned as IB learners. My son graduated from Providence Hall without an IB diploma, but he to this day is able to be a risk taker, and he's a global citizen. And these skills that these kids learn as IB learners, it's not about college credit. It's not about necessarily how far they're going to take their education immediately, but it's all part of a bigger thing. It's about being lifelong learners. And I think that if we get rid of this program at Providence Hall, first of all, what about the charter that was originally written and the blood, sweat, and tears of the people that put the work into it? When I was also the person that helped to vet and to interview Mr. Marshall, and he was all for the IB program, and I'm curious as to why that's changed. An IB learner was also something that all of these teachers and the administration, they went to trainings, they were all on board with that, and it seems to me that perspective and that view has changed. And I feel like we need to go back to square one and think, how can we keep this program and keep these traits and these learner profiles and implement maybe another program without completely eradicating the IB system as well. I know I'm currently a teacher in the Canyons District, and Hillcrest High School is an IB. You can't tell me that this is an antiquated, useless system. It's international. And I just think that it's a community of learners and that it has value. And if we don't look at a different way to solve this problem, if there actually is a problem, it's not just getting rid of it.
15 seconds.
That's what I have to say about that.
Thank you, Ms.
Thank you
Freeman.
for listening
Thank
to
you
me.
so much. And Aaron Preston is our final public comment today. Aaron, thank you.
Hello again. Thank you for listening to our wonderful graduates and people who have participated in this program. I've been speaking to a lot of people who couldn't be here today, echoing some of these sentiments. I told you in the last meeting how much heart and soul had gone into creating Providence Hall and the IB program at Providence Hall. And I've been struggling with how to encapsulate it. So here it goes. 2006. Actually, 2005, the first charter was written. It was rejected. The charter board had to rewrite the charter, come back, and it was accepted over many other schools. This is the first charter. Those are very detailed plans. This is the charter school agreement that was created and signed at the time that obligates us to comply with this charter. This is to get the financing to be able to build this school. Very detailed. I would love to have you read all of it, but I'm not going to make you. But it goes through the business aspects, it goes through the hiring aspects, it goes through everything else. Everything I'm showing you is thousands of hours of work by many, many people working collaboratively for the same goal. When we went to change just the way we teach Spanish, this is the amendment that we had to put in for just that one change. When we went to apply for junior high expansion, the MYP program, this is what we put in. Most of it is the academics of the MYP program. Again, the business analysis that goes with it. The high school and the DP program, this is the amendment that we had to go through. And each time there was an amendment in front of the state charter board, that was a long process in which everything was analyzed, and multiple people had to really attest to it. Now the IB, to get that IB certification, it means something. It's IB diplomas and IB credits are accepted in 100 countries at over 5,000 universities. I just don't buy that it doesn't have value. I haven't seen that argument. To get the IB certification, I don't have all the documents for that. Most were submitted online. But This can go through the visits that they had to meet with every stakeholder each time so that they could understand whether we understood the program, whether we could implement the program. And this is the final authorization for the high school program with all of the
15
things that are required of it. What's been presented to you guys now as a change eliminates all of that work, all of that collaboration, all of that research, all of that success in lieu of,
Time.
Okay.
may I have what?
Yes, just
Can-
sum up for us, Ms.
Okay.
Preston. Thank you.
In lieu of concurrent enrollment in AP in some fashion, in lieu of a Patriot Pathways program with this. If you're going to change what we have created here, do this. Show us how it's going to work. Go through the process. Make them come up with the plan. Make them work with everybody to come up with something that will really work for the long term. Thank you for listening.
Thank you. Thank you for your comments today, too. We appreciate your time. All right. Thank you to all who've given comment today. We appreciate your time, and we feel your passion in your as you addressed us today, too. We welcome, in the meantime, also State Board Member Hymas, who's here with us, who serves as a liaison to this board, and we appreciate your time as well. All right, as we continue with our agenda, we go to the consent calendar. All of the board members have received that consent calendar in advance. So are there any items that you'd like to pull from that consent calendar? Not seeing any, then may I have a motion? All right, motion to adopt the consent by Member Smith. A second to that motion?
I'll second.
And a second from Member Tonks. That's odd for me to say, from Member Tonks. Any discussion about the consent calendar? All those in favor of the consent calendar, say aye.
Aye.
And any opposed, nay? Then I hear a unanimous vote in approval of that consent. Thank you so much. And I'll go to a report. This last week, so everyone is aware, many of you participated at the UAPCS conference, one of our support organizations of charter schools in the state, whom we really appreciate, who spent a lot of time supporting the work that charter schools do in the state of Utah. Held meetings on Tuesday and Wednesday where board members and many of our staff were present and were able to participate and enjoy meeting with others, other charters, and we appreciate their including us and being a part of that. That helps us to also stay in touch and be a part of the full organization. We appreciate that. I wanted to make sure that you all know that the NACSA, which is the National Association of Charter School Authorizers, those individuals who do the work that we do in other states that authorize charter schools, will be holding their conference in Minneapolis this year, October 24th to 27th. We haven't attended for a while because of COVID, and that conference was, they've been having some virtual conferences, which others here on this, the staff and board have attended some of the virtual, but this will be, and actually it says NACSACon if you look at their website. So, and following that kind of verbiage, NACSACon will be October 24th to 27th. I mention it to you today because we're thinking that it would be good for us to be updated in new trends, see what nationally folks are doing. I give you those dates to be considering your calendars, 24th to 27th, which means a little bit of travel time on each end of that, and to look at your calendars and see if any of you are going to be able to attend that conference, and we'll be checking with you soon to see how that works. I encourage you to, can at all make that work to attend. It's really is wise for us to make those contacts and to do that work if we're able to. Peter Martin. Oh, so sorry, Member Spiker.
Thank you. I just wanted to make a comment that I would love to attend, and I think that based on what I experienced over the last few days, I would encourage many of the folks that I am surrounded with at this moment to think about submitting a proposal to share the work that we are doing in Utah as well, and the expertise that we bring to the national stage. So I just wanted to, again, I think we're probably late for submission. I don't know, I haven't looked at the website, but maybe that's something that, you know, that's my academic professional side. Just any time that we can do it. But I just want to comment again, and just to echo what this has been such a fantastic week so far of just charter excitement, inspiration, passion, and I'm humbled by so many of my colleagues and what I witnessed over the last couple days.
Thank you, Member Spiker, and thank you for that endorsement as well. And I have that same academic background, and we have been talking over time about a potential proposal because we are doing things that are useful. And Director Lambert will give us a comment about the progress of that.
Yeah, we have presented at this conference in the past. It is a little bit different from a typical charter school conference. It is geared towards authorizing, and so we would want to do that. It wouldn't be the kinds of presentations that maybe you did over the last couple of days. But I know that Chair Bowles has actually said that he wants us to try and present. And so if any board members are interested in presenting, please contact me, and we can definitely come up with something that would probably be more likely to be accepted for this conference.
We'll keep talking about that because they do need to learn from us as well. We have good things to share from Utah, and we'd like to, as well as learning from them. So that's a good endorsement. Thank you so much. Thank you, Director Lambert, as well. I thought I'd mention two other honors. Peter Martin, a student from Vanguard Academy, was one of the Young Technology Scholar Award winners this year, and so congratulations to Peter for that. We had a long list. You remember when Chair Tonks gave us a long list of awards from charters in this last year, and so great. In fact, last night my students had a new website that evaluated schools, and so that I hadn't seen before, and so we looked through, and how many were charters that were just the top performers in the state of Utah. It was very impressive. So the other honor is Cindy Sparks, a teacher from Utah Connections Academy, was named Utah's amazing math teacher for the month of May. And so anyone who can be an amazing math teacher needs recognition. And so we love that mathematics is something that's amazing, and kids are feeling that way too. So it's tremendous. So those things, in addition, a couple of things I want to mention to you. You notice that today I asked Member Phillips to lead the pledge. My notion is that we might take turns doing that. I've done that in the past with boards, and we take turns leading that pledge. And so if there's anyone who would prefer not to, or there are months that you know that you will be away, so I won't assign you to do that, please let me know. If you would just send me an email so I'll know that, and I'll start to make a schedule. The same thing is true. We didn't have a thought today because our time is compressed in the meeting this morning, and that's why we're starting early to be able to honor some schools at the end of the day today. But there are no thoughts. But I hope that all of you, Chair Tonks started that, and I like that so much. We've heard some inspirational thoughts from all of you in the last year or two, and so I would ask that we continue that as well. If there's anyone who would prefer not to share just a short thought, it can be just a quotation you found, a thought something you've been thinking about, as that kind of helps us to focus on our work. I hope that everyone will feel comfortable in sharing a thought periodically, and so if there's anyone who knows, again, that you would prefer not to, or there are months you know you'll be away, please let me know that as well, as in that same email. And so as I prepare a schedule, we'll be able to, I'll make sure I can schedule around your wishes. So thank you so much for participating in that way. All right, that's the end of that report. We'll now move to some of our business items, and we'll begin with an amendment request from Providence Hall. Marie Stephenson from our board from our staff is on Zoom this morning. She also is trying to prevent us from up and got ready and her hair's curled and makeup on, and I think if I weren't feeling well, you just take me the way it is. So she comes looking better than that. So Ms. Stephenson, we appreciate you helping us, and we invite the Providence Hall, then we'll invite the Providence Hall Governing Board. Should we do that now or wait till after Ms. Stephenson? Providence Hall Governing Board, those of you who are here, if you want to come up and take the seats, and now you're welcome to do that. Why don't you come up, and then we'll have a report from Ms. Stevenson that will lead us into the meeting. And information from the school, so you know, was posted online, and they'll explain any other materials that they have provided as well. Thank you for joining us. All right.
Thank you, Chair Bowles.
All right. Ms. Stephenson, thank you.
Thank you, Chair Bowles. Are you able, excuse me, to see my screen sharing there in person?
Not yet.
Okay, I am sharing on the Zoom. Jerry, do you? I see Jerry's on with
So,
us.
Marie, if you tell me
Yes.
where it is, I could present and show it so we can see it
Okay,
here.
yeah, let me stop then. It's just in our board meeting folder.
Okay.
Try sharing it now and see if it pops up on the screen.
You want me to try again? Okay. Let me do that.
We are now seeing it, Marie.
Oh, perfect. Okay. Thank you everyone for your help, and good morning, board members. I'm here to present about the material change to the charter for Providence Hall. As background, Providence Hall is returning. You did see them last month. You asked them to return and bring some survey data, additional information regarding the change to the IB program, and to please have board members present this month. As additional background, this did not come to us as a typical amendment. The school made a request to update their Exhibit A. We brought this to the attention of the authorizing committee, and they asked for some additional information, which I think led to some of that confusion at the May meeting as far as what was gathered and what was presented. I did do some research for you leading into this meeting about the general background of some of the claims and the statements about the IB program and how it relates to higher education here in Utah. So this was sparred by House Bill 45, which came in 2019. And this bill required the systems of higher education to put some policies in place that would help to standardize credits that are received at the different universities here in Utah. And they were needed to come up with minimum scores and maximum credits that would be awarded for all the national standardized exams, including IB and then also AP and CLEP. From that, in 2020, there were faculty committees from over 30 majors that got together and began the process of evaluating those national standardized tests and determining what courses would best align with what subject areas. And also they helped to determine those maximums and minimums that would be awarded for each of those. And these determinations were going to be standardized across the entire Utah system of higher education system, which would make it easier for students to know what kind of credit they can earn as they enter universities. With that third bullet point, students who would meet those minimum scores would be able to earn equivalent credit for specific courses at the universities in the USCSB institutions. Another goal of that was to help make credit more transferable, help students meet their prerequisites, and really make sure that they weren't having problems in their degree pathways. The bottom bullet point here I thought was interesting as I spoke with members of USCSB as well as here at USVE. They said there has been no system-wide determinations yet on the full IB diploma. For now, the decisions are only in regards to specific IB subject tests, and their alignment is with commonly numbered USCSB courses. Just to reiterate, there has not yet been a determination on the acceptance of the full IB diploma. Additionally, from USCSB, they said they've still got IB listed on their website. It's listed as a way to save time and money because students can get that college level knowledge while they are in high school, and they still advertise that as a great option for Utah universities. From USBE, it was a really short email, but basically said they found out about it last summer. They worked with the LEAs and with USCSB and are still working with them towards accepting the IB credits. I also reached out to our local universities and heard from a few of them. USU, they said that their office is not aware of a change in acceptance to IB diplomas. And the University of Utah, they stated that students who achieve a score of 5 or higher can be awarded university credit. Another interesting piece that the University of Utah shared that was different than what Providence Hall had shared was that if a student is earning both AP and IB credit, IB is awarded first, and then any additional AP credit is awarded. And they stated that if IB credit has been awarded and duplicates the AP credit is reduced, and so that the full credit goes towards the IB subject in a specific area. I did reach out to the local IPD diploma program, DP coordinators around the valley and along the Wasatch Front, and just asked them if they had heard of these changes and what was happening. I heard back from one of the coordinators. They said that IB schools didn't find out about these changes until their graduating students last year, and they were having problems with their IB transfer credits. They also stated that the IB State Association has reached out to USBE and the IB Americas for support, and that they have seen a decrease in IB enrollment. And to her knowledge, 3 IB schools have chosen to no longer continue their programs, which she stated were Bountiful High, Weber High, and Providence Hall. We will note that she also stated that it is still a viable option, and that West Jordan High School just received the DP program. So there are still schools that are choosing to continue or to add DP, but to her knowledge, Bountiful, Weber, and Providence were no longer continuing with DP. So with all of that background information, looking at the information that Providence Hall sent over, we found the following things that we just wanted to point out and bring to your attention as you begin your conversation with the Providence Hall board today. Providence Hall High School sent an IB transition fact sheet. It was undated, so we are unsure when this document was sent to families, which is what the school said the transition fact sheet was for. An interesting piece on that was that in their transition facts, they stated that IB programs at the junior high and elementary school will not change. And we have seen in their presentation that they are planning right now to have IB continue at elementary, but not at the junior high. So that is in conflict of what they stated to their community. Additionally, the school stated in their transition facts that each IB program is autonomous, and so it's unnecessary and uncommon to have IB K-12 continuum. That is supported. They are one of 12, I believe, schools in the nation that has the full continuum. However, they continue to share that they are one of those 12 and have not changed their website and their marketing, and we'll show some pictures of that in a minute. We did try to put together a potential timeline from the information that they sent to the board. There was an undated letter that explained information about the changes that were coming to the high school. And as of note, they said, we are excited for the opportunity to expand our current list of AP course offerings for the 21-22 school year. So that would have been the school year that just concluded. And again, it was undated as to when that letter was sent out. The first mention that we have of that in board meetings is July 21. And that was when There was discussion around switching the IB program and becoming more AP centered due to the changes in the higher education regarding those college credits, which again, speaking to the information that was gathered, it seemed like at that point, nothing had been concrete or decided yet, and that is still the point that a lot of those discussions are at, according to USBE and USHE. In December of 2021, it looks like there was a curriculum and assessment committee meeting, and during that committee meeting, they discussed elective changes for both the junior high and the high school. And then at the December 21 board meeting, Director Nate Marshall introduced information about the potential shift away from IB and replacing it with an academic pathway model at the junior high, which he said was presented in the most recent meeting of the committee, which again appears to be in December. Then in January 22, it appeared that there was a night for parents to come and learn about the new Patriot Pathways program. And then in the January 22 newsletter, they said, as you know, last year the high school decided to drop the IB program. And then the big question they kept coming to was, what did their students really need? And then they stated, after months and months of dreaming, we're going to present the change to the Providence Hall Junior High. It is unclear whether the board ever officially voted on both these changes to the high school as well as to the junior high, but it was, this is the timeline that appears to be accurate from the information that was sent to the board. The school also sent an undated survey to the board, and it was simply a screenshot. So it is unclear how many people participated in the survey, what the questions were, what the context of the survey is. And we're hearing from some community members as staff that they did not know of this survey and that they are unsure who took it or when the survey took place. As of just last week, looking at the website, Providence Hall still lists itself as Utah's only K-12 International Baccalaureate charter school, which is, again, interesting along that timeline when it looks like these changes have been happening for at least a year from their discussions and what they sent over. Additionally, on their website, under the part about paving the way to higher education, they say that all of their students participate in the IB Middle Years program, which is the gateway to the Ib Diploma program that is offered at the high school level. Their junior high again states, welcome to the only K-12 International Baccalaureate World School in the state of Utah. So again, they have not changed yet their marketing and what is on their website. The school did present this document, this graphic here, that shows what credits are accepted at most Utah universities. That is green. The orange is accepted at some Utah universities, and red is accepted by few or none of the Utah universities. Again, I did not hear back from all of them, but the universities that did respond both shared that IB is still accepted and wanted, and again receiving the highest amount of credit possible, even over the AP tests. The school did provide documentation of what the Patriot Pathway would look like. They've gone through and shared their purpose. They've talked about how it's personalized. They've shared about capstone projects. They have outlined different advanced academic courseworks. So it does seem that they have created a robust program, and that they have lots of good information to share on that, and that it could be a strong option if this is what is needed in their community. That they have done a lot of work, they have shared a lot of great information, and have put together a strong program. And so that is everything we were able to find and share with you today. If you have any questions, I can answer those. Otherwise, I will turn the time back to you, Chair Bowles.
Thank you. Any questions for Ms. Stephenson from members of the board?
My question is, my understanding of the reasoning behind Providence Hall's transition is not that they feel that the Utah system of higher education will no longer accept any IB credit, not that they feel that it's an entirely non-viable program. What they are discovering through their research and what they've documented pretty well is that their students have opportunities to earn more credits if they're using the AP program. So that it's not like IB is being dismissed from the Utah system. It's simply not as flexible or as broad. Is that a correct assessment?
The University of Utah was the only one that spoke to that directly, and they stated that they award IB credit ahead of AP credit, and that IB.
But that's in an area where they both offer credit, right? It's the University of Utah. I think it's correct to assert does not accept as many different types of IB credit as AP credit are available.
They did not clarify that. And then the other college just said that they have not made a change to their acceptance of IB credit.
Thank you, Ms. Stephenson. Any other questions from members of the, Mr. Hymas, please.
Yeah, you showed that Providence Hall still has advertising, if you will, of the IB program. Is that appropriate as long as they are still chartered to do so? Like, we wouldn't expect them to take that down until they receive permission. Is that correct? I would direct that at Ms. Stephenson or Ms.
Director
Lambert.
So I can answer that. So at one level, yes, we're glad that they haven't changed the marketing, but we're trying to present to you everything that we're seeing and just the information. And so we did note that even though they seem to have been in some of their communications that they've already been making this change, they're still advertising it. And there is, if they're planning to do this for this next school year, then those who may be trying to apply, it may be misleading. So it's just, the timing is really hard on this because we're so late in the year. And I think that's just what we were pointing out, that at least to the community, there still would be, if I was a parent looking for a school, my expectation is that this would be a K-12 IB school.
Follow-up comment.
Yes,
I just think they're in kind of a sticky situation, right? If they're working to have it removed, but it's not removed, would they then be faulted for removing it before it was actually approved to be removed?
And yes, as I said, yes, this is a sticky situation. The timeline, it's unfortunate this didn't come to us much earlier. I think that would have solved that problem.
Thank you. Thank you for your question. Other questions? You want to clarify? I suspect you'll have more questions as we continue, but if not of this presentation necessarily. Thank you, Providence Hall board members, others who are here with us today. May we have you each introduce yourselves to us so we know your names and how you represent Providence Hall. Could we go across? Maybe Mr. Marshall, if you'd start and then just go across.
Nate Marshall, the Executive Director, Providence Hall.
Kim Crandall, board member.
Elizabeth Starley, board member. I'm the PTO liaison, so the parent-elected board member.
Mike Livesey, board member.
Nick Ward, board chair.
Thank you. Providence Hall, I suspect you have some things you'd like us to hear as well, and so will you please go ahead?
Yeah, so I've included in the packet some of the information that Marie has presented, so thank you for that, Marie. Appreciate it. As well as, if you're okay, I'd like to kind of walk through some of these things. Specifically, I've included kind of a PowerPoint presentation with some slides.
To the blue folder that you
That's
should
correct,
have
the blue
each of your
folder.
Spaces. If you do not,
Would that be okay if I did that?
Absolutely.
Okay. On the second slide, Providence Hall goals and direction. Providence Hall's mission and original charter is to guide students to realize their full potential and provide them with tools and confidence they need to achieve their dreams. As stated in the charter, through an unparalleled education program, students are enabled to create a better future for themselves and the world. Providence Hall resulted-oriented learning environment fosters leaders and empowers students to live fulfilling, responsible lives, and that's from the charter. Providence Hall students achieve academic excellence. That's central to Providence Hall's vision and mission. And the charter is to employ hands-on experience, experiential learning, reflection, and real-life application of methods and instruction. As stated in the charter, it strives to create a balanced student who cares for the community, harmonizing mind by developing the brain through art, music, theater, and creativity. Incorporation of love and logic to help prevent problems and allow teachers and students to be respectful of one another. It does involve parents and involves the learning process and promotes an equal learning environment. The IB program has been the framework by which these areas of the charter have been developed. Its inquiry-based focus allows students to explore and develop in the aforementioned areas. However, recent legislative changes that we were made aware of, and I'll kind of go through how it's impacted us as a charter, changed by the higher education level and standardizing the way that universities recognize the IB program and or the credits, as Marie had stated, has greatly challenged the full implementation of the IB framework at Providence Hall K through 12. Our goal is not to disrupt the charter, but to recognize the impact of these changes that have been made and address how we would like to continue to improve the inquiry-based education experience for the students. Preparing students K through 12 and post-secondary success through a rigorous academic pathway is important to the school and its charter. The goal of the school is still to provide the rigorous education framework to work to adapt and make appropriate changes due to these modifications that have been made, not by Providence Hall per se, but by the state legislature and Utah State Higher Education. The following information will lay out how Providence Hall would like to address these challenges, how these changes are addressed, and with the community, and illustrate how Providence Hall will work to align K through 12. Under who we are, stated before, Providence Hall Charter has 3 fundamental outcomes: to teach students to think critically, communicate effectively, and act responsibly. We want to provide a positive, responsive, and supportive environment where all students can learn and grow and contribute to ever-changing global community. These elements guide everything we do at Providence. The school's goals center on these outcomes. Again, the IB program has been a framework by which the school has been able to deliver these important outcomes, and you've been able to hear that from the students and parents that have spoke today. With the recent changing landscape of IB at the state level and newly passed legislative initiative and practice of the Utah State Higher Education to standardize course recognition at the college level significantly impacted the important outcomes for students, particularly as they transition from Providence Hall to college and career. Centered to our charter is developing the whole student and ensuring to prepare students to provide them with educational tools and outcomes to help them for both college and career. Just a broad overview of how the IB diploma works at the high school specifically. If you look at how to earn the IB diploma part 1, it has a breakdown of how the IB diploma is recognized and implemented. Where these changes have impacted the school mostly is at the high school level, particularly students who are participating in the full IB diploma. Students don't actually start the diploma until their junior and senior year. During their freshman and sophomore year, Providence Hall students wanting to do the full diploma program begin to take AP classes their freshman and sophomore year as we develop them intellectually, and they take honors classes in the core areas. These courses also are available to other students, not just the DP students in their freshman and sophomore year. Due to the rigor of the full DP program, students opt in. So the average enrollment since 2016 has been around 16 to 20 students starting their junior year. These students for the next 2 years take the following courses for 2 years, including a class called Theory of Knowledge, and complete an extended essay like the thesis and do a community activity service project. Students who choose the program forego electives and may do online classes to fulfill some of the state graduation requirements in order to do the full program. Under part 2, just to further clarify, at the end of the student's coursework, which terminates their end of their senior year, students sit for exams. They are internal exams and also external assessments that students are given. The external grades are graded by IB. Students are then given a score between 1 and 7 as a performance outcome. And I've included in there the breakdown of the higher education recognition of the IB and the scores that they need in order to get the college credit. So I think that'll help as we illustrate the impact that it has on Providence. In order for students to receive the full diploma, students must sit for exams for all 6 courses, including the Theory and Knowledge, CAS, as well as earn a C or higher on the extended essay. To get the diploma, they must do all of these, also earn at least 24 points combined in the 6 IB classes, and this is where it impacts Providence probably the most. This means students can score higher, like a 5 or a 6 or a 7 on these courses. They are strong in and score lower in courses they maybe aren't as strong in. And a balanced total offset, this allows for students to score a little bit lower, but the total sum of 24 actually gives them the diploma. Receiving a 5 or higher is extremely difficult, and I'll show you the stats from our students, which has almost an 83% pass rate. So we do very, very well, one of the best in the state in terms of getting our students prepared for the IB diploma. Students who were able to do so and able to do all of these requirements get 30 credits. At least that's what their previous credit outcome was. If you go to the higher education standard changes, this is where that interface really kind of plays out. I've included in your packet the specific changes that the state legislature passed along with the standard universities, which will begin 2021 and 2022. So in there you'll see the AP mostly, and then in 2022 and 23, that's when the IB changes come into effect. Changes to accept the rate to a 5 or higher in order to get the credit removes the ability for almost a lot of our students from achieving the full diploma because the students don't score a 5 or higher in all of their areas. Most students receiving the full diploma score between a 24 and a 29. Additionally, the changes also stop recognizing credit for several of the courses that are central to our offerings. So as a smaller school, we have to be pretty streamlined in how we do our IB program. Our science offerings and a language-specific offering, along with TOK, are no longer being recognized based off of the new standards. So this would remove the potential credits students would receive if they took them. And additionally, some of the courses like English requirement, IB, which is our higher level English class, literature, language and literature would not be accepted broadly, but just in writing specifically. These changes greatly impact the potential outcomes for these students who work for 2 years to complete a very rigorous and demanding program while sacrificing the opportunity to take other electives, even AP or concurrent enrollment, with the hope that they will pay off in the college credit. There's no question IB is rigorous, and the kids come out very, very prepared. We will go through exact credit impact later on and break down the student scores so you can better understand how it's impacting the school and the students. We want to maintain these academic standards as they are important to developing students who will be successful in their post-secondary endeavors. However, these significant changes greatly impact the student, and we want to make sure we give them not only the rigor, but also set them up for the most successful pathway possible as they transition to college. The next slide is timeline and information. So that's what Marie had presented. In 2019, 2020, HB 45 amendments were passed. And then in 2020-21, higher education created those standards, and then we were informed that they were implemented. These changes were first introduced in 2019 and 2020. I've also included those in your packet so you can take a look at them. So at this point, I would like to, if you don't mind, we have a few stakeholders, parents and some teachers that have provided some input on the direct impact. Would it be okay if I give them a chance to speak to these?
Yes, of course. May I ask, because it's most important to me to know that, not to argue the benefits of one program over the other. I don't think that's our place to do that. Our place is not to argue. Having had AP programs and supported those over the years, I started 2 IB programs, which apparently one is now closing, but started IB programs over the years as well, and middle years program, not the early years, but middle years and the full diploma program. So I see advantages of both. I understand that, and credit opportunity. I don't think that's our position to really talk about the benefits of one or the other. Our position here is to say, has your board considered all of those things? The board's position, your board is the ones who make that decision, and your families who make that decision. So I think our position here today is really to say, are all of your board members on board? What's been the process you've considered? And the process for making that kind of a change is really our point here. We have a charter agreement, a contract with Providence Hall at this point. And if you're wanting to change that contract, we need to know the process that you've gone through to come to that point. And I'm also interested to know, are all of your board members present? These are your four, you have more board members who are not able to be here today, or?
Yeah, we have two others that weren't able to make it today.
Okay, thank you. All right, so from my perspective, that's our position really is to say it's to review the process, not to evaluate the benefits of either program. So if you can talk from that perspective of what's the process you've gone through, has everyone been included in that process, what were your voting? We're not seeing that at this point. So Member Tonks.
Yeah, I think to Chair Bowles's point and also to Member Olson's point from the previous meeting that I personally am less concerned with the what than the how. And Director Marshall, you've been doing all the talking. I am very interested in hearing the process from the board members' perspective. That's why we invited the board. You were here last month, and we got to hear all of the positions that you had on it. I would like to know what the process was when it started, what went into the determination, making sure that the board members had the information that they needed at the right points in time.
Thank you, Member Tonks. And of course, I think that's where you were. You wanted to pass that baton to your board members. And I just wanted to preface that you don't need to tell us necessarily the advantages of one or the other, but the process that you've gone through.
Sure, and maybe in a minute, Nate could go through the timeline, which maybe is slightly different than Marie Stephenson's timeline, or at least has a little bit more detail. And so we can get to the exact process that we went through. I can tell you from and board members, please don't let me do all the talking either, jump in, but I can tell you from the board's position, we did not take this lightly. You can maybe imagine how shocked we were when the biggest advocate in our school came to us and said, hey, this program is no longer benefiting our school. And that was our high school principal, who unfortunately is on vacation, an ill-timed vacation, and couldn't be here. But she was the biggest advocate I knew for the IB program. And she came to the board and said, hey, we've just been informed, and we are floored by this. We have students who have graduated with a full IB diploma and are being told by the University of Utah, even though they, sounds like they're telling Marie something slightly different, that they're gonna get 6 credits instead of, or 8 credits. Sorry.
A maximum of 12.
Maximum of 12 credits instead of 30 for a 2-year program that they worked so hard for. And we were concerned. And so the admin laid out a plan that we felt like was a good plan. Now, are we perfect in our plan? Did we cross every T and dot every I? I guarantee we didn't, and you're gonna find fault in some of that. We felt like we needed to move quickly. We have not updated our website. We have not voted on it, because that's our understanding is that's not how the process works, that we needed to come to you all to get permission to change that. And so we're a little bit in a sticky situation where we're trying to run 2 parallel paths. We can't just stop school all of a sudden and say, hey, we got to figure this out. We got to kind of keep things going and move towards what we think is best and what's going to benefit ultimately the students. That's what we're really looking at. This is what's going to benefit the students most. I've read through the charter. I've read through all of that wonderful work. I can tell you, I personally feel like we are not, out of that whole work, that body of work, we're changing, I would say, a smaller aspect of it. We still want all that rigor of IB. If you look at what the admin has done, and I feel like they've done a wonderful job, we've kind of created a different version of IB that's just simply more accepted in Utah, so that the students can benefit more from their work. So I'm pleased with the work that's been done. We didn't do it perfectly. That survey that you saw, Marie Stephenson, that she showed, that was to the junior high, and it was something that we missed. We didn't do a full survey, And those are results that we just got this week. So there's things like that we went back to the community to pull them and make sure they're still okay. But I can tell you, we didn't do a survey, but we did plenty of parent nights. My wife included went to that and was super impressed with the junior high pathways and the options that gives for the students and how it dovetails nicely into what we're trying to create at the high school. So I'm proud of the work that's been done. It wasn't done perfectly. I can tell you, I don't think IB necessarily defines our school. I think what defines our school are those traits that you've heard Nate talk about and that we intend to keep. And we think that we're creating lifelong learners that are part of a learning community. And again, I'm proud of the work that's been done. It may not have been perfect. If there's a different path you'd like us to take, please share that. This was the path that we were told to do, to amend in Schedule A and submit it. And did we do it at the right exact time? I don't know. I need your guidance on that. I need your help. But we're trying our best and trying to do what's right for the students. So certainly appreciate you having us back here again and to participate in these meetings. I'm hoping that we don't go too much further beyond 10:15. I do unfortunately have a work commitment that I need to get to, but I don't know, fellow board members, if you have anything else to add.
Yeah, I wanted to add, I mean, this is a change I have not taken lightly. My daughter just graduated from Providence Hall just 3 weeks ago, and we are as parents, and I know as my daughter herself, she is really hoping she got the IB diploma, and she, things are being graded right now by the IB organization, so we haven't heard back yet. But she loved it, and what those students and parents said earlier today, I mean, that's exactly, what the program brought to her. I mean, it was a rigorous program. It brought in, international studies into it. She loved it. She loved the classes. She loved the students she was with and the teachers. And so this is something, to me, when I heard as a board member about the change that was going to, that's happening, it's something that, I mean, I looked into a lot, and I felt like as a school and as a board, we had a lot of communication going out there. I mean, I was there, I was at those meetings, and I saw that communication go out. So, for me, I mean, this change, I like the change that we're making. It's great. I have seen how our program has benefited my daughter, and it's been fantastic for her. And she is going to the U in the fall, and so that's where we're hoping that hopefully she scored well on all the exams and has the diploma, for those credits. And I know for my daughter, it is, for her, it's about those credits. She's one of those students who she looks at everything and looks at the return that she gets from it. And for her, it's hopefully saving a year of college, and passing that off that way. So I know as a board member for me, this is something, I mean, I can see the value of the program that we have, and I also really see the value of the way that we're proposing to take it and how it will continue to help the students and provide them, opportunities in the future, just like our current IB program is offering.
Just to build on that, the effect that it has on students, one positive we see in all this is the ability to engage more of our student population. I think you've heard a stat from Mr. Marshall on the number of students that participate in the full IB program, and we've seen much better interest and participation in the AP program and what that can do, just taking one AP class and the credit that they can get at school for that. So we also see that we're spending quite a bit of money from a budget standpoint to pay for the IB program, and yet it's servicing such a small portion of our student body, and how the AP program has been a little bit more accessible.
Thank you. Other board members who would like to address us?
I'm the newest board member, so I would have just joined in July of 2021. So, but I'm actually new to Providence Hall as well, as we were in Murray School District before that. And what drew me to charter schools, and particularly to Providence, was the fact that there's more of a local input, there's more fluidity and ability to shift with what's best for the students, because ultimately that's what it's about. It's not about what looks good on somebody's resume or website that they founded the IB program. What it's about is what's best for kids. I agree. Like, it's on the website. That's a lose-lose situation for Providence Hall. But what I found is that, sure, it's like that looks good academically, but ultimately what I wanted for my 3 girls is a school that is going to be individualized and academic focused. And I would say that absolutely has not changed. It is about the credits and how the situation has changed, and it's maybe unclear right now of what the universities are saying, but it has changed. Practically speaking, we have parents and stakeholders we've talked to that kids were told they're not getting the same credits. And as Nick said, when you look at the numbers, the elementary is not changing from the IB program at all. If anything else, I just had a 5th grader graduate. They went through the whole program. She did exhibition. It's all part of the IB focus. That foundation hasn't changed, and those values and the mission is still there. The original mission, the original charter was just for the elementary, and that hasn't changed. The information for the junior high and the high school were amendments to the original charter. So from my perspective, at this point, we need to do what's best for kids. And for kids to be able to have the option now, because we're not just focusing on the select few that can lock into the rigor of the IB program for their last 2 years of high school, we can open it up to advanced placement classes for kids that, you know, maybe they're really good and they can take advanced placement English, but there's no way they could do the IB program, but they can actually get that credit for English going into college and do concurrent enrollment with something else. That's a win-win for kids. And the fact of the matter is, you play the numbers, Providence Hall is a small school. For us to be paying the money for the IB program and just servicing a few kids, that's a little problematic. It doesn't mean that we can't be an academic-focused school. It doesn't mean we can't be an inclusive school. The principal's done an excellent job at the high school of saying these are different pathways. She's worked on getting a certification for AP. So at this point, it's what's best for the students, and that's why I had no problem, even though it was pretty much my first meeting, my first vote, once I looked into it, to say, yeah, I'm okay with us dropping it at the IB diploma at the high school, because ultimately that's the change.
Want to add anything? Has it all been said?
Yeah, I mean, since everybody else spoke. I was there at the meeting, and when Ms. McPhail presented it, it just seemed like the logical choice. And there's been a lot of questions on the process, and in Ms. Stevenson's presentation, she talked about an undated email. But I went back through all of the parent communication because I have 3 students at Providence Hall, and the first email was on July 21st. Like shortly, you know, right after she met with us, she had started to email the parents. And she had actually, even before she had met with us, Ms. McPhail had met with the parents of the students that were going to be starting the IB program and those that were already in it to talk to them about this because this affected them the most. And then they came and gave the presentation to us as a board, and as a board, we all unanimously agreed. We didn't vote on it, but every single one of us agreed with their decision. And then they sent out emails to parents, and then they held parent nights, and they did that on multiple occasions. That way there was, they were able to reach all of the parents. And, you know, with the survey that they sent out that you saw, they not only sent that to the parents, but then, you know, on the parents page, we're like, hey, would you please fill this out if you haven't already? I mean, they really tried to get input from every single person. This wasn't just done on the side or on the slide. I mean, they really did want input from all of the parents, so.
Thank you so much. So I'm going to, in just a minute, have Director Lambert talk us through the process for changing your charter agreement and have her talk through that, because you kind of have asked what is the process, and so let's have Director Lambert talk about that. As you're doing that, I'm hearing maybe there was you voted on something a year ago, but I'm also hearing you heard about the changes, and so you went to a meeting when the changes should really be, from our perspective, and I think Director Lambert will endorse that should be driven by the board. The board should be driving that change. So this is process.
Yes, apparently we're on the same wavelength because I was going to mention the same thing. So you mentioned that you weren't perfect in the process, and I appreciate you recognizing and saying that. As staff, I think our concern was how this kind of came about and how it came to us. So I think we've said this, Ms. Stephenson also kind of went over this, but let me go over it a little bit again. This came to us in terms of the school was looking to go to a new charter agreement with the Exhibit A. And we do that pretty regularly, but the intent is that we are just kind of putting into the new charter agreement what already has been approved and what already exists. But when we noticed what was listed in the Exhibit A, it was significantly different than what we understood Providence Hall to be, and that is an IB school in all grade ranges. And so we brought it to the authorizing committee and said, we're seeing this as a major change. Do you see this as a major change? They agreed, and that is why it came to the board last month. So this was not an amendment request, and so in the future, what you need to do is if you want to make changes, your board does need to direct it. Your board needs to vote on it and then come and present an actual amendment request. We have forms for that. And then we would get the documents, we're able to vet it and look at the process. We can see that it is governing board directed, not administrative directed. I also was picking up on a lot of the comments that were mentioning, this is what we heard, as a board. We heard this and it is true, it's probably gonna initiate from your administration, but it's gotta be board directed. That was definitely lacking, and I do know that I've received a number of comments and questions asking why isn't there an amendment request for this, and maybe as staff we should have held things up and said, oh well, we need you to fill out this amendment request, vote on it as your board, bring it to us as typical. However, we also were very mindful of the timing of this. So while we can appreciate that you guys have been talking about there's a long timeline that you've been working on, you unfortunately never brought us in on that. And so we're now looking that we've just finished the school year, you're trying to start the next school year, and you're planning on this for the next school year, and so as staff, we chose not to require them to go back and do that amendment request in terms of timing because this is unfortunately too late. Really, for next year, this should have probably been coming to us much earlier. So that is the process, and that is kind of what we saw as concerns about the process, because it is, when we look back through the board meetings and looking at the discussion or lack thereof on this, it just does not seem, at least in open meeting, that there's been sufficient discussion for such a major change in the board in an open meeting as it should be. So that's what we're looking at. Did that answer your question?
Thank you.
Okay.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you, Director Lambert. I'm going to give time now for members of the Charter Board if you have questions or discussion you'd like to have as well. Anyone? Vice Chair Phillips, please.
So my concern is of process as well. If you have a good plan moving forward, of course, I guess I should start back and say, your agreement as a board with your authorizer is bilateral, and so it requires both to be in agreement for a change that is something other than cleaning up a document that has typos or that has obsolete information, because we do have some of those that are sort of administrative. But what that means is that responsibility cannot be delegated to administration in any way except for to support your decisions and to bring you information that you need. And while IB may not define your school in your mind at this point, it does define our agreement as an authorizer with your school. And so to us, it's very significant, this change. It's very material. one of my big concerns is I'm a process person because I think good processes bring about good decisions and also make sure that the right stakeholders have been involved in the decisions over which they have authority or over which they ought to have some input and say. And I'm very concerned about the fact that there's really no evidence in your meetings that there's been anything besides work discussions in these public meetings. There haven't been decisions made. All the minutes that I've read say, yeah, continue to pursue that, continue to look into that, which isn't a bad thing in a board meeting, but it doesn't demonstrate that the board has ever made an actual decision as a group on pursuing this path. And so you may give some testimony here that that's what you would do, but you actually haven't done it. And so that gives us pause, I think. The other thing that's really disconcerting to me is that for now your number of years of operation, students and staff and parents have come to the school with an expectation. That doesn't mean that that expectation can't change. It doesn't even mean that the Patriot Pathway isn't a better pathway. I'm not disputing that. I don't know at this point, but that's a school decision. That's a board decision after stakeholder input. That's something that, with that information brought to us, I'm guessing this board would support. But what I haven't seen, even though Director Marshall suggested that the stakeholders had been vetted fully, the survey that was brought to us, it is not compelling. We can't read the questions. We don't know how many participants there were. It appears that it was done after last board meeting and not before, which would make your report from last board meeting inaccurate to us. And therefore sort of maybe put together last minute. But I don't even know if just 10 people filled out that survey. There's been no discussion of your staff, or we don't have evidence of significant numbers of your parents actually participating in and vetting this decision or this potential decision. And so what I don't want to do is be part of a decision as the group that we are, as part of that bilateral decision, simply because the school year looms in August and is starting. That's not a good reason to make, that would make us part of a bad process. So I would need to be able to see that the board had driven this, that they had made decisions about requesting an amendment of this nature, that staff and parents and students had been part of the process significantly, while that may be the case, there's certainly no evidence in the documents for that we've been presented.
Thank you. Other board members comment? Member Tonks?
Yes, I concur with Vice Chair Phillips. And I am personally uncomfortable supporting a decision moving forward with moving to an Exhibit A without the amendment request. I think that is poor process on our part, and it feels a little hypocritical to say, we're all about the process if we're not going to do the process appropriately here as well. Vice Chair Phillips is correct that the board drives these types of decisions, and I do understand staff's concern about getting everything in place by the time the school year started. But I am in support of going back and redoing things appropriately with the amendment request and then moving to the Exhibit A. And when Director Lambert was talking, she talked about you're moving your charter agreement to an Exhibit A. That's like moving to a new house. But there was a divorce in the middle of that wasn't taken care of when you're changing the complete program. And it doesn't feel like it went through the appropriate process at the school level either. I have severe concerns about the survey and the timing of it and what was presented to us last month. It doesn't seem to be accurate. And so I'm not in favor of moving forward until we can go back and do it accurately.
Any other board comments, discussion? Remember, go ahead, Member Smith.
I'd like to say that I think as I look at the evidence that you presented that surrounds the decision to the concept that you would like to move to an AP-based program rather than IB program, like your reasoning is sound. It resonates. I understand, right? And it does seem like your intent is to continue with the vision of the school and the mission of the school to give your students an excellent academic education, a solid founding, and as much credit as they possibly can achieve, and to do that in the broadest possible way, to make that accessible to lots of students. Those are great goals, and I support those, right? But it is correct to say that it should be an amendment process, right? This is a material change to your charter. So I don't know where that leaves me on this, right? Because I'm with all of you. We need to follow the correct process. And it's unfortunate that we did not communicate well and you did not communicate well. No one really said, it seems like you became aware of a problem and administration was like, oh, here's a good solution, right? And then the board all said, oh yeah, that sounds like a great solution, which is not how we like to see it happen. We want to see the board saying, oh, you've made us aware of a problem. What are the potential solutions? And then we can drive it from there, right? And so that's kind of where the breakdown is. And then also we as a board, we kind of have a process that we want to see you follow. And then, but you may not have been aware of that process because that's the nature of being on a volunteer board that does not consume your entire life, right? You just maybe didn't know, right? So that leaves me in a kind of no man's land because in general, like, do I support your desire as a group? Because it seems like as a board, you unitedly desire for good reason to make this change. Yes, I support that completely and wholeheartedly. Do I also support our desire to see it go through our established channels that contain safeguards and all those kinds of things? Yes, I do. So and this is all with a deadline looming over us, right? Because I don't want to see students who would potentially be able to be earning more credits and broadening the participation in the more rigorous pathways denied that opportunity, because you guys didn't understand the process we wanted you to go through. So I'm conflicted, I guess, is what I'm saying, right? I want you to be able to do this. I don't know how to support that given the issues.
Thank you. Other board members, other discussion?
Chair Bowles, can I speak to this?
Absolutely. Go ahead, Member Olson and then Member Bassett after that.
Great, thanks. And excuse me, my voice is about an octave lower than it normally is, which is why I'm at home right now. I share some of the concerns that have been raised by other board members. As I see it, we should never expect a board to be so beholden to a charter that it can never be reevaluated. We expect our charter schools to serve the purpose of charter schools identified by the legislature in Section 104 of the Charter Schools statute, and that includes continuing to improve student learning, using different and innovative teaching methods, increasing choice, et cetera. And it appears to me that you're doing that. And so I'm supportive of your move. It's not our role, as I mentioned at the last meeting, necessarily to micromanage the decision-making analysis of schools and school boards, but instead to make sure that they've approached changes by following the law and within a proper framework that involves appropriate school and board governance. And we need to make sure that that happens in such a way that the school is going to be a viable part of our portfolio moving forward. And so the concern that I have and the question that I have for the board, because it's just not demonstrated in the meetings, is has there been a vote? I'm less concerned, I suppose, about the viability of the survey, because ultimately it's the school board's decision whether to make a change. My question for the board, and I'd like an answer on it, is has there been a vote by the board to make this change in a public meeting? We received from you 2 sets of Board of Trustees minutes, at least from what I can tell in the materials that have been made available to us, and one from July of 2021 and one from December of 2021. And all that's reflected in the meeting minutes of December 2021 is that Mr. Marshall introduced information about a potential shift away from IB. And there's nothing in there that indicates there's been an actual vote. And so my question is, has there been a formal vote regarding these changes in a public meeting, and is it reflected in the minutes?
Thank you, Member Olson. Mr. Ward, maybe you could respond to that.
Happy to. Yes, Member Phillips stated, like, our understanding is that it's an agreement between you and us, and so it seemed premature for us to vote to adopt something without coming to an agreement first together. So again, a process issue, lack of understanding, and I own that. You know, ultimately I'm responsible, and I should have maybe dove into the particulars a little bit more on process, but honestly, as already been mentioned, a volunteer board position, I have to rely on on the admin and staff to guide me and help me in that process. And so this was the process that we were told that was the appropriate process. And so no, we haven't voted, but we are all in agreement. And I do think if we could spend some time on showing you all the work that we have done in the community, honestly, if you were to tell me to go do it again, and I can't force people to take a survey. I can't force people to attend a meeting. That's like, IB is a nice thing to hold on to and speak to, of like, yeah, we're an IB school, but our community is showing that, hey, we're happy with and trust you all. That they're not showing up and in loud voices. And so, you know, we've done a lot. We've done a lot of communication. We have our committees where we talk about pedagogy, and we presented this to them. I don't know if, Nate, that was in, I thought it was in the packet. But.
John, I'm going to, just in the interest of time, knowing
Yeah,
your time
thank
is
you.
short as
Yeah.
well, I'm going to continue to move on, make sure that Member Olson, if there any other follow-up you wanted to have beyond that, he responded to your question.
Yeah, just quickly, and this is not I don't want to issue an advisory opinion before any motion is pending, but it just seems to me, and we hate to keep sending you back and have you come back to us. I'm supportive of this move. I feel like your thought process is fully appropriate. It's the most recent board members' comments. I'm sorry I forgot your name, but I thought your comments were the most insightful in just laying out the reasons why this move makes sense. I just want to make sure that all the proper hoops are jumped through with proper board governance. And assuming that happens, then I'd be supportive of this change. How exactly we go about doing that, the timing, I don't know, but those are my comments. Thanks, Chair.
Thank you. Thank you. Member Bassett.
I would just like to go on the record. I can echo concerns that have been stated. I feel them as well. I was not at our last board meeting, but I watched minutes. I read through documents, and I'm coming to the table today. I do feel like I recognize this is an urgent matter, but it's not an emergency. And were we to come in and make a vote today or say, okay, let's do this thing, it feels like we're responding to an emergency. I have concerns about process. I think we can do it right. Even though we feel this school year timeline, the answer of has there been a vote? No, for me makes it easy for me to draw a line against approving this today.
Thank you. Any other board member comments? Member Tonks.
I just have a quick one. Chair Ward, you keep talking about this is what we were told to do. And what I can see from what I've looked at, you did the change to Exhibit A, and our staff is the one that said, hey, wait a minute, you're changing your IB program. That never came to our staff as a substantive change that you were making. And from what I understand, and please correct me if I'm inaccurate on this, what should have happened was the amendment request and the Exhibit A should have been done. Your board has to vote on that first. Then you come to the authorizer and you say, we support this. Your board can't speak unless you vote. That is how you speak as a board. You can all completely agree on it, but unless you take a vote in an open meeting, your conversations are really meaningless as far as what comes to us. So once you vote on that, you bring it to us. We can sit here and discuss it, but unless we vote on it, you're hung up and you can't do anything. So and then it comes back to you, and you support everything else that has just happened for both the amendment request and the Exhibit A. Did I understand that correctly?
Can I respond?
Please.
Yes, that was the point I was trying to make in talking about the process, that, and Member Tonks said that really well, that you cannot speak as a board unless you take a motion. And I think if this was just hoop jumping, I think I would be recommending to our board that, you know, let's just approve it, because I hate hoop jumping. I mean, we don't get into charter schools to just jump through hoops. But this really is meaningful because the appearance is that you have the tail wagging the dog. The appearance is that this is all being driven by administration, and there's no real governance oversight of the school. And because of the nature of charter schools, it's very important to have proper governance and oversight of the school. Even though you guys are volunteer board members, we put a lot of trust in the governing board, that your governing board is going to be effective overseers of the charter and the fiduciary duties and just everything of the school. And so when we see that there's only reports being made to the board, and then there's comments about, well, yeah, we were all supportive, but there was no motions made and no votes taken, that gives us concern that there maybe is not proper oversight of what's going on. And so it's not just jumping through hoops. This is, you know, meaningful. I just want to apologize to my board members that I think in the future we're hearing, even if the timeline is short, we would require an amendment request and actually go through the formal process. So I want to apologize that we did not require that in this case.
Yeah, thank you. Good advice. Go ahead.
The other thing that kind of brings pause, I'm just going to be very transparent. When we were asking questions last meeting, some answers were given that may not have been accurate. And that does undermine credibility. If an institution comes to us asking for a change, a substantive change, we're typically amenable to that as long as the research has been done and the steps have been taken. That would suggest your stakeholders are in favor and the board has reacted to that, and it sounds like your principal came to you and so on. But when I asked specifically about what stakeholders had been surveyed and what that information looked like, I was given the answer that had been done for a very long time, but the evidence that has been brought to us suggested that it's only been done recently, although we can't tell for sure, and it's very incomplete. It looks like a survey that we don't actually have any information on. So not that the survey is the be-all and end-all, but anytime there's evidence brought to bear that is questionable, both in timing and in substance, that does undermine a request and makes us worry about what the process has been at your school to come to this point. May have been very good, but we don't have any evidence that it has been a good process. And we have a fair bit of evidence that it has been driven by administration, not vetted with stakeholders, and not voted on by the board. And so that does give us pause and makes us cautious about moving forward.
Okay. If I can sum just a little bit, Mr. Marshall, if you want to add.
Yeah, no, I do appreciate that. And the survey that was submitted was one that we sent out after the fact. But I have included, if I would been able to get a chance to go through the whole presentation, I did include their information about the surveys that were sent to the high school students, as well as the committee meetings that we had, the minutes from those meetings, as well as information that we gathered in our parent nights as well. So it's in the PowerPoint presentation. That information and surveys were done in July and August. And that was with our 21 cohort of students, as well as the students that are coming into the high school itself. So I just want to be clear that in that statement about the surveys, we did reach out to our community and receive some input that way.
Thank you. Thank you so much. So if I can, and there may be other board comments, but I'm hearing from the board, and again, I can't speak for the board. I have to speak for myself because we're all we're body politic, as you are, and we have to vote in order for the voice of the board to be heard. And so I can only sum what I've been hearing so far. But what I've been hearing is we think you have, at this point, some of you, I think you each could speak to the reasons why you want to make a change. You could, if somebody in your community in the school asked you, you could speak to that, and you have some reasons for doing so. But the concerns I'm hearing is that we haven't followed the process that should have been followed, and the board driving that change, and the process that allows us to put in place all of the safeguards and changes our contract with you, which hasn't yet been done. So I'm just kind of, I think I'm summarizing what I'm hearing, and so folks are saying, we understand your reason, and that you're trying to do good things for kids. We're not hearing you taking a leading role, board, and saying, this is what we want for our school, and voting as a board and coming to a clear decision. This is the voice of the board. You know, even if you disagree, when you take a vote, then everyone's opinion is the majority of that, whatever the majority decides. So at this point, I'm going to ask our board if they have additional discussion. If not, I'm wondering if someone might make a motion.
I would like still to have the opportunity to hear from the stakeholders who are present.
Is there someone else that?
Did you not, I believe Mr. Marshall said that there are other, this listed group, I think, here.
Yes, thank you so much.
I did include comments from parents that had reached out, and I've included those in your packet so you can read through that.
Okay.
And then we do have a teacher and parent who came to speak, if you wouldn't mind giving her a moment.
We certainly would be glad to have you come up, so please do. I'm sorry I missed that. And if you'll introduce yourself so we have that in our minutes as well. Thank you.
My name is Lori Rominger, and I've been teaching at Providence Hall since 2011. And I have 3 kids, 2 that started at kindergarten with Providence Hall and are now in 8th and, well, going to be 9th and 11th grade, and 1 graduate. So, and I wrote something, so I'm just going to read it. I would agree that the IB program is a good program. I loved teaching math in the diploma program for the last 7 years at PHHS. I taught dedicated, hardworking students and really enjoyed my classes. I also taught at the MYP level, the middle years program, when PHJH first opened. So I feel that I can speak to this from an experienced teacher's point of view. Most of my comments are geared toward what I know, which is the DP and the high school. I would like to start off by saying that the elementary doesn't have plans to take away PYP, and that at Providence Hall, the MYP ends at 8th grade. At the high school level, the only program is the DP, which is strictly an 11th and 12th grade opt-in program. The programs do not feed into each other. They are 3 very different programs. Going through the PYP did not make a better MYP student, and going through the MYP absolutely did not guarantee success in the DP. So here are some thoughts. Number 1, the IB program is not what makes Providence Hall stand out among other schools. The faculty is what makes us stand out. We have an amazing faculty family that cares for our students and their well-being and wants the best for our students. We want them to be thinkers and inquirers and knowledgeable. We want them to find success. We meet regularly within each campus to discuss those students that are not finding success in order to help them and come up with tools that will work as a team. We make an impact because the schools are small enough for all faculty to pitch in. We are constantly working to use best teaching practices and be on the same page as a faculty and across all 3 campuses. If something doesn't work, we don't stay stuck. We analyze, evaluate, and work towards something better as a collective whole. These are some of the things that make us stand out. Number 2, the IB Diploma program is a great program, but what it really comes down to is using good teaching practices. We discuss these practices, which are not specific to IB, at professional development and not in the IB framework, but in a way to help all teachers become better. The IB DP courses are meant to help students analyze and synthesize and make connections and conclusions, but that can be done with any curriculum. Those are traits that Providence Hall values, and at the high school we try to teach those to all students, not just the 6% in the program. Number 3, the IB Diploma program for juniors and seniors consists of about 6% of the entire student body. So all the money it takes to run the program, all the extra time on the teachers' parts, all the training we had to send teachers to and pay for, has all been for about 6% of the student body. In 2020 to 2021, I had 4 different IB math courses. I had a standard level and higher level for 11th graders, and I had a standard level and higher level for 12th graders. My class sizes were 21, 6, 6, and 14 respectively. So in 4 periods, I had a total of 47 students. Most teachers at PHHS have around 100 students in 4 periods. So when I am teaching IB to only 47 kids, do you realize what's happening to the rest of the classes? They are bigger in order to accommodate those IB courses. Are the rest of the classes in 11th or 12th grade IB? No. The diploma program is a specific program with specific courses that are not meant for everyone. They are hard. They are rigorous. They have to be taught at such a fast pace to get through the material. They are stressful. The IB program isn't school-wide at that level and never has been. Number 4, when I was an MYP teacher, I again felt that it came down to good teaching practices, which are not trademarked by IB. But my MYP paperwork made it so much harder to just teach a lesson or unit. It took more of my time to fill out the unit planner and didn't make me a better teacher. Number 5, I understand that change is hard. I understand that Providence Hall is currently an IB charter school, but so few of our high school students actually go through the program. I see the benefit of revamping and creating programs that help everyone. We don't need to be stuck to a program just because we thought it was amazing when the school opened. Our new pathways involve more AP courses. Therefore, more students can participate, and we are opening up the same educational experience IB offered to so many more of our students. Honestly, I was sad when the decision was made because I've loved teaching the IB math, but it wasn't the program as much as it was the students that I loved, and I'll still have students. From a parent's perspective, I think the PYP is great. I think it's a good framework, and I have liked my children going through that program. That is only a one-sided opinion, though, because I've not taught it, nor have I really researched it. My bad, but it was great. The MYP didn't matter for any of my kids. Sorry, but it just didn't. My oldest went through the DP, but his mental health suffered because of the workload and rigor, and he's still fighting to get his credits at SUU to be on his transcript 1 year after graduating. Would I put my next child in the DP program? Absolutely not. It's not for her. And if anybody has an in with SUU, I could use that. I don't want to discount all of my students that I had go through the program. I have loved being part of their journey. It wasn't an easy journey either. They were very prepared for college, but I strongly feel that students can be just as prepared taking a different pathway. One of the things that was so amazing for them was all of the university credit they got from the program, but that is changing. As I mentioned above, my son is still fighting to get his credits. The universities don't understand the rigor, and so they are taking away the opportunity to earn all the credits our previous graduates earned. They changed the circumstances on us. We adjusted to benefit our students. Do I wish I taught in an ideal world where extra rigor without reward, like college credit, didn't matter to students? Sure. But our last year of the program was cut in half when the students found out they wouldn't get the same amount of university credits that previous graduates earned. They chose concurrent enrollment and AP courses instead. Students want to be rewarded for their hard work, and I don't blame them. The decision to make a change at the high school was not taken lightly. It was examined, sleep was lost over it, data was analyzed, discussions were had, and the main question was, is IB really what we are all about, and is there a better way for us to support our entire student body rather than 6%? I am excited for the change. Most students can reach higher with so many more higher level course offerings. This change will benefit the student body more than IB ever did. Providence Hall is an awesome school. IB didn't make it that way. Our administration, faculty, staff, students, and parents made it that way. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah. Here's the benefit of great teachers in schools. That's the key to great education, are great teachers, without a question. All right, thank you. Are there others from Providence Hall who needed to speak that you had with you today, Mr. Marshall? Okay, thank you so much. I want to honor that. So anyone, board members, any additional comments? Anyone ready to make a motion?
If I could speak just briefly, I don't know if you're going to make a motion to table it. We have the opportunity to, because we are on a deadline, the board is willing to meet this next couple of weeks. We can open that up and then go through the process of the amendment, which I understand the process is important. Go through the amendment process, if we would be able to do that, and then maybe meet again.
Thank you.
That would be our request.
Member Tonks, you.
Well, I will take a stab at a motion, and it would simply be to direct Providence Hall to go through the appropriate process, which includes the amendment process and then the Exhibit A. Am I missing anything?
I second that motion.
Okay, we have a motion and a second on the table. Anyone have any additional discussion? So the motion is that we direct Providence Hall to go back and go through the appropriate process. This staff will be more than happy to help you with each step of the way. They're very happy. They want you to succeed. They really work hard to help that to happen. Don't hesitate to call on them frequently, and they will be happy to help you with anything that you need. But the motion is then to direct Providence Hall to go back and go through the appropriate process to bring back again the amendment and Exhibit A. State that accurately?
I'd love to speak to the motion for just a second.
Yes, please.
I think this is really appropriate. I want, and that's why I intend to vote for this motion. I want you as a school board to know that I fully support you in this decision. I think it's well reasoned. I think it makes a lot of sense. I think you have your students' best interests at heart. I hope we can help you through this process in a way that will support your move and in a way that will be mindful of the short timeline. So I would say we're on the same team here. We want the same thing, right? We want the best outcomes for your students. I think you want the best outcomes from your students. And so this motion is not to stand in the way of accomplishing that. It is to support you towards doing that in a way that can be replicated by other people that would stand up, legally and ethically and all of those things.
Yeah.
That's where I'm at.
Thank you, members.
Chair Bowles, can I add to that quickly?
Yes, please.
I join in everything that Member Smith just said, and I intend to vote in favor of the motion, but at the same time, I'm supportive of your planning. I think you've thought through this carefully. I just want to make sure that we as a board and that our staff are able to expedite all of those procedures to the extent possible so as not to slow this down.
I'll echo that. It's not our place, nor have we been in the habit of second guessing what's best for your school, for your students, to be flexible for you, to be able to pivot quickly and to do good things for your school. That's not been our point. But we do have to make sure that statutorily, by rules, that we're following that which we have sworn to also uphold and make sure all of those pieces are in place, to make sure that all of the safeguards are in place for you and support you, really. The point is not to make it hard for you, but to support you and to have all the pieces in place to support you. So with that, any additional comment to that motion? Yes, Member Spiker.
Thank you. I just wanted to get on the record as well and just, I share this very similar sentiments about supporting this decision from an equity standpoint, a fiscal standpoint. I mean, academically, it definitely makes sense. And I've been doing a lot of reflecting on a keynote presentation that I heard yesterday from Jerry Brooks. And he talked about the importance of reflection for the leaders, for the board members, for the folks that make decisions, right? That we're in this situation, and there's lots of opportunity for growth and reflection. So he had talked about, hold up a mirror, make sure you look and you ask, well, how did we end up in this situation that we're not able to say yes today, right? So I just want all of you to know, and that I am thinking about my own growth and development of what could we have done to potentially be in a different motion at this moment. And so I just wanted to share that this is an opportunity of growth on our part too, and that we want to support this for you and as quickly and smoothly as possible.
Thank you, Member Spiker. Any additional comments to the motion? Not seeing any, I'm ready for a vote then on that motion. All those in favor of the motion say aye.
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 Any opposed? That's a unanimous vote. Providence Hall, go back and prepare a great amendment for us and Exhibit A, bring that back for this board to consider. Will you?
And
I would
just
also,
so we could be clear of what you want, and maybe I can just contact, one of you, that's fine. I just want to understand we need to meet and then submit it and then meet again with you, and you're willing to expedite that because we.
Can I answer?
Yeah.
Marie Stephenson. right there. She is the individual who can support you through this. So if you contact her, she can direct you to the documents. Those are also on our website. And in there, it will guide you that, yes, you do need to have, submit the minutes where you did pass that motion. Normally we see some discussions, and then a motion passed, and that would really, that gives your administration the ability to then do the paperwork and start the process. I don't know if there's anything specific that any board members would be looking for in terms of documents, but I think you've heard their comments here today.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you for that question,
The main
too.
part is the board needs to have the meeting, discuss the change, and vote on it. And then after that, the amendment is brought to you. Is that correct?
The board needs to drive the decision.
We've
This
got
needs
it.
to come from the board.
We will set a meeting today.
Great. Thank you all. Thank you for coming. Thank you, Providence Hall. All right. Let's move to our next agenda item. Elise Newey is here from our Land Trust office. What? Oh, on Zoom. Elise is on Zoom. Hey, Elise. I was looking through the crowd.
Sorry.
We're glad that you're here. We love our Land Trust team, and they take really good care of schools throughout the state. Elise, we're looking forward to your presentation. Go ahead.
Thank you so much. I'm going to share my screen so you can see, but of course, it's always tricky for me. Okay. All right. Are you able to see this?
Yes.
Okay, great. Okay, I am so excited to be here. I am the training specialist with the School Children's Trust section at the USBE. And it's been a while since we've been with you. So I wanted to run through quickly just what our program does for schools, especially for charter schools, and then give you some updates on what this program looks like on the ground. Paula Plant, our director, is also here with us today. And so if you have any questions, we're both here for all of that. All right, how do I make this go now? Oh no. Oh, there we go. Okay, so as you probably know, there are land set aside throughout the state of Utah that earn money, whether that be through real estate or through mining, and that money is all set aside in a permanent trust and that permanent fund. And that is overseen and taken good care of by an agency here in the state of Utah, SITFO. And as I invest that money, we take the distribution. So there is the interest that is earned each year, and that is distributed to the beneficiaries. And those beneficiaries include several different organizations and agencies, but by far the largest beneficiary is public schools. And so the permanent fund itself is about $3 billion. And this last year, the distribution that public schools received from that permanent fund was about $93 million. And that is spread out through every public school throughout the state of Utah. What is really exciting is that this fund has just grown in leaps and bounds over the last 20 years. So in 2001, the distribution to public schools was about $4 billion. And this upcoming year, so in the 22-23 school year, we are looking at distributing $95,849,770.37 to public schools in the state of Utah. We're also really grateful that the state has recently approved the exchange of trust lands out of the Bears Ears National Monument. And that will result in increased revenue, both to the trust and to the local communities that have increased their tax revenue. So that is the total distribution. As far as what does that look like for individual charter schools? Well, we have a state mandated, or within the code, there is a specific way that we break down the distribution for each school. So we take the total enrollment for the previous year and divide the total charter school enrollment by the total enrollment of all students in the state of Utah to get a percentage for how much charter schools as a whole should be getting. And so for this upcoming year, that is 11.53% of the total distribution going to public schools. So that looks like $11 million and some odd change. From that, we distribute we calculate a base payment that goes to charter schools. And then that allows us to then take what is left over from that to calculate a per pupil amount that is distributed to each school based on their enrollment from the previous year as calculated by the previous year. And so this upcoming year, that looks like $134.78 per pupil is going to all charter schools throughout the state. One thing that is important to note is that because charter schools are often opening up satellites or there's new schools, we have in the past or up until now calculated a true up. So we add in the estimated amount of students. So if there's a brand new school and they're assuming or estimating that they will have about 200 students, we give them a distribution based on that estimation. But of course, things always change, right? And so the following year, we have to go in and kind of fix some of that calculations by doing a true up, which then gives them the correct amount based on what their actual enrollment was for that year, if that makes sense. So some of the requirements that are on schools in order to get this money year after year, they need to have a council. And for charter schools, this is a little bit unique because they have a couple of options. So they can either have a school land trust council that is made up of elected members who are parents in the school community, as well as a few teachers and then the principal or the director. But charters can also use their charter board as their school land trust council because that is also made up of parents. So we are working on getting exact numbers for how many schools are using their charter board as opposed to their specialized council just for the school land trust program. After they've established a council, they then need to come up with a land trust plan, and that outlines exactly how they plan to spend the money that is coming out of the program, that distribution. After that plan has then been implemented for a full year, they turn into us a final report, and that gives us the exact numbers with all of the receipts for things that they paid for using the land trust money and whether or not the goals that they had set for themselves were achieved during that year. And finally, and probably most importantly, the law also requires that that council be trained annually, as well as the charter board. So all decisions, as you know, need to go through the charter board, regardless of whether or not their charter board acts as the land trust council. And so we want those charter boards to be adequately trained so that they know what they're looking for, they know what the requirements are, so that they can be in compliance with rule and law at all times. So just as a quick reminder, the legislature really wanted this to be a locally controlled program. They wanted the school councils to be made up of parents, in fact, to have a parent majority so that we can have increased academic achievement in our schools, to have better awareness of this program, but also to involve families in this process and the decision-making on how this money is spent at each individual school level. So the process for the land trust plan itself is really outlined in law as well. And each school needs to decide what kind of data they're going to look at. And we define data rather broadly. That is up to the local school to decide what kinds of data they want to consider. But once they've decided on that, they need to see what is the greatest academic need at the school. And it really does need to be academic in nature. But as we know, there are lots of things that affect students' academic achievement. And so lots of other things can go into that decision-making process, but the goal itself needs to be the greatest academic need. And then the goal is created. So what does everyone want the students to accomplish over the next year? And then the council gets to decide what they want to spend money on to make sure that that goal becomes a reality. So as far as the plans that we have received for this upcoming year, one thing that's important to note, so the charter schools due date was April 1st to turn in their land trust plans. And unfortunately, we only received about 33% of those on time this year. And we still have about 15% that are outstanding. So this is 15% of charter schools that are at risk of not receiving their funding at the July distribution date. Of those that we have received, and we have already been through the process of reviewing those and looking at the plans for compliance, the biggest expenditures that we're seeing are on salaries and technology. I'm going to share with you just a couple examples of how those plans look. So my first example is Roots Charter School there in Salt Lake City. Their distribution this upcoming year will be $44,000, 204 and 204. I cannot do numbers after a while. There's too many. You can see it there. And they're spending their money largely on salaries and benefits. But for them, that is looking like a specialized academic rescue team that will be working specifically with their juniors and seniors in making sure that everyone is ready for graduation. So that's in credit recovery, making sure they're getting the resources that they need, attendance, all of those things that really help their juniors and seniors be on track for success. Wallace Stegner Academy is also using the great majority of their distribution on salaries as well. But for them, that looks like employing instructional coaches to support their ELA and math teachers. So they're really hoping to improve teaching across the board in ELA and math by employing these instructional coaches. And then finally, Moab Charter School, they're also spending a lot of their money on the salaries, but in their case, it's for a school counselor that is going to support their students and their well-being and their health and mental health so that they can perform well academically, because we all know that feeling like you belong and that you are happy in school is a big part of performing well academically as well. So that is my report, but I would love to answer any questions that you have. And again, Paula Plant is also on this call. She's on Zoom as well if you have any questions for her as the director. So thank you so much for your time.
Member Spiker and Member Phillips.
Thank you so much for this information. As a previous director, I know I was always so eager to get my school land trust allocation amount, because it opened up the doors of possibilities, right? Our ability to think really outside the box. So I preface that I am so grateful that this fund exists. And I'm also curious, and maybe this is my, my environmentalist side. I am very concerned about how we make this money, the impact on the lands for the future. So I just want to get on public record saying that this is such a double-edged sword for me, because I guess my question is, this fund, right, is supporting our children and their future. What happens if the land is so badly taken advantage of and stripped of its resources that our children really have no state to recreate or play or live a quality of life that we see for our future children and grandchildren? So, and I thank Vice Chair Phillips, I'm still getting used to saying that, for sending the article just about Bears Ears. Because that did, again, this is, and I'm reading the article, the devil is in the details. So I would just call on us, and I don't know if there's any initiatives that we're actually thinking deeply about sustainability and protection in the backdrop of wanting to make money. Because it's very easy to get wrapped up in the money. Like, even I'm like, 100 grand, man, what can I do with that? Yeah, keep resourcing the land. But we know that is a finite resource for us. So I don't know if there's anything being done, or I just wanted to get on the record saying that this is amazing, and we have got to think deeply.
Of course. Yeah. Of course. May I just, yes, before you start, so that you know, of course, this group, Elise, and that Paula directs, don't make those decisions relative to the land they're helping to distribute those monies. There is a board that does that, of course, separately. And all of those lands were put aside when Utah became the 45th state. 1896, the U.S. government, to become a state, required that some of our lands be put aside to be used for school land trust. Until about 25 years ago or so, they were even more poorly managed. I would argue they're much better managed.
I appreciate this
today.
history.
Yeah, they were really poorly managed and really didn't advantage schools much. And the power of our legislature, but really the power of the United PTA together to drive that, they're much better managed, and now we have an allocation coming to school that's grown steadily from that point. That I think there may still be some missteps. It's a world of difference better these days. Yeah. All right. Vice Chair Phillips.
Just wanted to mention for those, and I was going to ask Ms. Newey if this was still the case, and maybe mention it for those schools listening. It's my understanding that the board of a charter school can be the land trust commission for that school as long as those serving on the board are two more parents than non-parents. Is that still the rule?
Yes, that is correct, because it was the intent of the legislature that it be parent-driven. And so it's really important that parents make up the majority of the decision-making body on the council. And so as long as that charter board still adheres to that aspect of having a parent majority by two parents, then yes.
Thank you so much. Any additional comments? We so appreciate the distribution formula too, that there is a set amount plus amount for students above that. So even very small schools have a little bit more money to work with, and that makes such a big difference. So to Ms. Newey, thank you so much for your presentation today and for your continued work with this program and supporting schools. And if Paula is there as well, to Ms. Plant, thank you so much. I've known Paula for more years than I will say, Paula, but when she was a ballerina, and she still looks like a ballerina, doesn't she? So, yeah, so all those years later. So thank you for your work and making sure our schools are well cared for. We appreciate you. Thank you so much for coming today.
Thank you all.
Thanks. All right. Our budget, fiscal year 2023 budget, and the authorizing committee has already looked at, reviewed that budget with no concerns. They looked at it carefully. Mr. Okovia, our financial manager, and Director Lambert are both here available to answer any questions that you might have relative to that budget. Are there questions from the board relative? I don't know if you wanted to present anything. We've had a chance to look at it, and that went through the committee process as we do. Anyone have questions? That's short. Yeah.
I just wondered, and this may be my misreading of the budget, but it looks like we haven't spent very much, but it's just encumbered. Is that accurate? Is it moving forward to when we have startup funds and other things? Because it appears that we have a lot in our account, but yet I know it's tagged for things. So could you just give me a little overview of that?
I actually would love to. I did not plant that question. But it is correct. We actually, we receive a pretty good amount. It's 3.7 and some change. But if you look at it, and we put in there, well, how much do we actually have for our budget that isn't restricted, like pass-through funds like startup or fixed costs, and that's only about $85,000. So there is quite a big difference. This, just so you know, this is a budget. None of it has been spent yet because the fiscal year doesn't start until July 1. So nothing has been spent out of this. But in terms of budgeted, yes, it is. It's something that we also try to help the legislature understand as well, that we really don't have much for our operations in terms of what we can use for different things. But those who know me know that I am pretty frugal. And so I think we do a really good job with what we have.
Thank you much. Any additional? Member Spiker, go ahead.
Not a comment per se about the budget. I just happened to notice on the website for today's meeting that the budget is listed as fiscal year 2003. So is that correct? Am I off on that?
Yes, so our fiscal year starts in July 2022, but it is common that you talk about the fiscal year with the second year. So it goes from,
She's saying it's
It's
20
just a
years
typo, Jennifer. It just
Oh,
says 20, it says 2003.
we're going back in time?
Yeah, which, hey, you know what? Who knows? No COVID, no, but just to make for public record, we might want to just fix that.
For that correction, thank
And
you.
thank you for that.
Yeah, I do want to make it clear that the actual content in the link is correct. Yes.
It is, and I clicked on it to make sure.
Yeah.
Any other questions? I'll entertain a motion? Not yet. We still want to make a decision about budget so they have money to use. Somebody,
I'd like to make a motion to accept the fiscal year 2022-2023 charter school budget.
thank you so much. But you'll be close. I'll turn to you in a minute. All right, so there's a motion and a second to approve the fiscal year 23 budget. Anyone, any further discussion on that motion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? All right, so unanimously passed, that budget passed. And now is the part we don't necessarily want to have on our agenda. Because all of us, well, not all of us.
6 of us.
You will miss us more than you think. You will, and we'll have lots of opportunity to continue to work with you. But I was going to say, it feels shallow not to have all of the charter schools in the state here to celebrate and say thank you for all the work that you've done on their behalf for 7.5 years. Really, it's been quite a long time and a lot of dedicated service. But those of us who know you best and know what that work has been are here to say thank you to you. And just as a reminder that I still say Chair Tonks has been on the board since January 2015. Thank you so much. And Vice Chair from 2016 to 20. Many of us were here during that time. In the last 2 years, she served as board chair, which means not just conducting these meetings. I know personally how many additional meetings and work she did outside, behind the scenes, to make sure that charters were taken care of and were supported and helped. It wasn't just coming here to conduct a meeting. It was a lot of work beyond that. There is, of course, I'm an English teacher, so I have to use literature, but there's a wonderful quotation in Ray Bradbury's Fahrenheit 451. If you know that story, that novel, I was going to say Guy Montag, but for Delano, who French is half of her, so Guy Montag, right? And he, at that time, in the future, the Fahrenheit 451, that temperature is the temperature at which paper spontaneously combusts. I always say to students, don't go home and try it in your oven. But that's the temperature. And the notion is that all the books are being burned. There is a society that doesn't want individuals to read and have thoughts and to listen to various thoughts and to gather those. So they're burning all the books. And so a group of people decide to preserve the books, and they do that by memorizing. Each person becomes a living book. They memorize. At great peril to their lives do they do that, were that to be found out. So they memorize these books. And the protagonist asks one man who's memorized a book, why did you do that? And he said, my grandfather said, everyone has to leave something behind when he dies, whether that is a wall built, a pair of shoes made. Everyone has to leave something behind. The difference in a garden between a lawn cutter and a gardener is in the touching. A lawn cutter might not have been there at all, but a gardener will be there for a life. And Chair Tonks, you've been a gardener, charter school garden. Others may have some things you'd like.
I first became aware of Chair Tonks, now Member Tonks, when I entered the public system after being a private school administrator and teacher for many years, and was sitting in the back of this very room and heard her voice loud and clear and intelligent and effective in board meetings on boards that she served on before we were members, most of us, and have found her to be a great mentor and a great colleague and a friend. And I just appreciate everything you've done. I feel like we are in a much different place as a charter board and as a charter contingent in the state of Utah because of your leadership and voice, and I greatly appreciate it.
I'd just like to express my appreciation for all of your support and mentorship, and also the idea that so many times when you speak, if not every time that you speak, I find myself thinking, that makes sense. And I appreciate that and all the grace you bring to this table. So thank you.
I know others of you may privately communicate, but if there's some others you want to add, please.
If you would let me just speak for a moment. I've been thinking a lot about, because I've been asked, like, what has Member Tonks done since she's been on the board, and I've been thinking about that. And I think, you know, right when she came on the board, she was instrumental in ensuring that we are posting information and getting information out to board members in a timely manner so that it can be reviewed before board meetings. And I remember that even before she came into leadership, she that was something that was important that she was instrumental in pushing. She also got us to review our bylaws every so often. That was something that she was initiating and thinking strategically. She got the board doing that, and I have some of the old documents from way back when of some of the first things that she was working on in terms of that. Also, it was under when she was in leadership that we began doing policies as a board. That before that time, the board didn't have any written policies, and she was instrumental in that. And just so many other things. I know when I would talk to her more than anyone else, she would always want to bring it back to what's best for students. And that was her sole focus of wanting to improve the education for students in our schools, and her just her dedication to that, and her unending support of students and the charter school movement and improving the quality. I hope that we're able to continue with that torch.
So you're going to tell, we do appreciate you so much. That mentorship notion, all of that list of things you've done, I just so appreciate, you know, she's always that, I admire you're so gracious, yet courageous. Communicate well, and you're so honest with individuals. Friendly, yet nurturing, but you're honest with folks. And that makes such a difference not to hide that back. Will you all please join me with, we have a note thanks to, wow, I think that's Liz. Oh.
Can we stand
Liz, so great. And a plaque, please stand with me.
Yes.
Yes.
That is great, huh? We love it.
Ask Member Chair Tonks if she would.
Thank you all, and I apologize. I lost my voice a couple weeks ago. You can't even feel badly for me because it was while I was traveling in Europe. I have been listening to the book, The Second Mountain by David Brooks, whose first book talked about eulogy virtues and what's the other one? Non-eulogy virtues, for lack of remembering, which means I'm getting a little bit older. Thank you for all of your kind comments. It's nice to be alive to hear some of these eulogy virtues. Often you don't get to hear these until you die, and that was the whole point of the first book. In the second book, he talks about the second mountain and how when you first start out in life, you conquer this mountain. And then things happen, life happens, things shatter, and you end up in the valley. And the second mountain you realize that it's the people around you and that you are looking for interdependence and you're looking for reciprocal relationships. And it's just such a beautiful construct the way he paints this picture in the book, The Second Mountain, which I would encourage all of you to read. And I have appreciated taking part of my second mountain journey with each one of you, working for the benefit of others, working as individuals. I had a charter board chair who was stepping down about a month ago send a frustrated email to me as the board chair of the State Charter School Board, and he said, this is a thankless job. It's a volunteer position. Some of the things we heard echoed from Providence Hall today. Nobody cares about what I'm doing. I pour all of myself into doing this position, and it's not noticed, it's not compensated, and there's a lot on the line from a liability standpoint, from a financial standpoint. He wasn't wrong. And I thought for a long time about how to respond to him. And what I ended up saying was a lot of validation. I feel you. I get this. I feel that deeply. And I also recognize that at the end of the day, the way that we change the world is by each individual taking that personal responsibility and doing what they can as gardeners in their little corner of the world, in our little corner of charter world. And as each one of our board chairs, as each one of our board volunteers, as each one of us cultivates our corner of the charter garden, we change the world for all of the students, for all of the teachers, for all of the employees involved with charter schools, for the state of Utah, and eventually for the world. That's how we get to the world-changing piece of things that David Brooks talks about in his Second Mountain book. We are all involved in that work, and I am grateful for what I have learned from each one of you, and I will be sharing that with you, not during a public meeting, but I have a list I've been keeping, and it's been an absolute honor to serve. It's been an honor to work with Jennifer in leadership. She was fairly new when I came on the State Charter School Board, and we've developed a really good working relationship and also a friendship that has come out of that, as I have with all of you. Thank you for what you have taught me. Thank you for the things that I will walk away from this charter board as a better person because of what you have given me and taught me. So thank you for the opportunity to work with each one of you.
Thank you so much. Thank you. That's always the hard time. The nice note is that we'll still be in touch with her, and she's not going to be too far away. Yeah, not too far away. All right. Today we have an opportunity to go to a baseball game and to honor spotlights for schools there. And so Director Lambert is going to preview that for us.
Yes, and I'll go through this pretty quickly. This is background. These are based on information from the comprehensive review. We just have to do that statutorily. We don't do a comprehensive review for every school every year. It's on a rotating 5-year basis, and so not even all of the schools would have been eligible to be honored this year. But just after a year of doing this comprehensive review, I did want to share with you just some things that we've learned, because it should prepare with what some of staff has been thinking and maybe your strategic plan in September, but I'll just go through these really quickly. The amendment in Exhibit A's, that has been, we found that there's been a lot of maybe discontinuity in terms of what schools are doing and then what's in their exhibit. We also know that a lot of the goals are just really out of whack that could use some improvement. The comprehensive review has been quite time intensive to do it well. I mean, we could do it poorly and get through it quite quickly, but it's been quite time intensive, which is a challenge. And it's also been a challenge of the intersection between oversight and performance. And so those that were maybe in some sort of remediation like warning, we chose to hold off doing their comprehensive review because it's tough on that. And also the way that we have the comprehensive review right now is it determines a school status for the next 5 years. And that is something that we're going to suggest changing because that's long. And it also, if we find problems with the school, either through the comp review or that there already were concerns, to have that influence their status for 5 years just doesn't seem fair or right. Also, I forget what I was going to say on the time frame of it. I'm going fast, so we'll skip over that. So let's go on the celebrations. We're going to leave for the baseball game in hopefully a half hour, 45 minutes or so. But there's 4 schools. Not all of them will be able to be with us at the game. There's been some surges in sicknesses lately and just some emergencies that came up. So we'll only have maybe 2 schools that will be able to be represented with us at the game, but the others give their regrets. But just let you know who they are, and so it's on public record. We did have, according to our rubric, and our rubric is quite let's say robust. It means something to be determined in high performing status. And George Washington Academy down in St. George, Utah, did meet the high performing status, and so they were the only school this year to do so. But just really congratulate them. It was the standards are set high for this. We had 3 additional, now as you've seen on your consent calendar, we've had more schools than this be in good standing, but we chose 3 that were good standing but had something in particular that was just noteworthy to highlight, and there were 3 schools that we noticed for that. Spectrum Academy, they've been to our board a couple of times this year, one for an amendment request and another for a spotlight for another reason. But their charter fidelity is really great, and it's something that a number of our schools, especially as they are in existence for quite a while, they sometimes struggle with that, just kind of watering down their mission. But Spectrum often is identified as a school as like they're often mentioned at the legislature and all that, because they have such a clear mission, and they do it well. Legacy Preparatory Academy did a really great job on academics. There was just some other things that kept them from being designated high performing, but they do a great job in their academic performance. And then Lakeview Academy, their enrollment is super strong, as well as really great finances. And it's tickling my brain. It seems like sometime in the past we did spotlight them for finance, but maybe not. But they've just been, they do a good job in those things, and so we also want to highlight those. And I think I talked short enough, so that is it.
Thank you so much for that overview, and we'll have an opportunity to congratulate individuals who will be at. So it's kind of a fun activity today, so we appreciate it. We look forward to that. We now need a motion, but not our usual conclusion motion. We need a motion to go into, if someone's willing to make that. Okay.
I'd like to move that we go into closed session in accordance with the Utah Open and Public Meetings Act for the purpose of discussing the character and competency of an individual.
Motion from Vice Chair Phillips and second from Member Smith. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All right. I'm determining
Do we need a roll call vote on that?
Do we have to go into close? All right, let's do it. Thank you for asking. Member Smith.
Aye.
Member Tonks.
Aye.
Vice Chair Phillips.
Aye.
Member Bassett.
Aye.
Member Spiker.
Aye.
And Member Olson.
Aye.
Thank you so much. So it's a unanimous vote. We'll go into close. We'll dismiss everyone. Yes.
Well, before you invite whoever you want, I'm assuming you still want Member Olson in there. Member Olson, I guess there's going to be a separate room for you to join over Zoom so that it can be closed and you can participate. Is that okay, Joanne? Okay. And just give a couple of a minute or so to let the IT be able to stop the stream. And then when you're ready to come back into open session, just give us a minute or so that we can get that stream back going so that Yeah, because you will have to make at least that final motion and open, yeah.
All right. So while we make that transition with Member Olson, if anybody needs to run to the restroom, get a drink for just a minute, we'll be ready to continue. All right. In Ogden. Yeah. Yeah, that's right. I should say Salt Lake baseball, because that was, because Ogden does have Raptors. Okay, thank you. All right. Yeah. Cracker Jacks today. I just have to have Cracker Jacks at a baseball game. Taking all of my kids to a White Sox game next month, so. All right, we're back on. Member Olson is there, so good. All right, so we're back in open session, and do we have any additional motions before we conclude? Have a concluding motion. Like to make another motion?
You're trying to elicit a motion other than the motion to adjourn at this juncture.
And I'm going to take that motion to adjourn away from you.
I'll allow it.
Symbolically today, she does.
I do have a motion I would like to make. I would like to move that we authorize the executive committee of the board to pursue changes and other compensation-related issues with the appropriate persons in who they would need to do that with. I don't know who that is.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
All right. Thank you.
Almost, it started as a really good motion and then kind of fell apart at the end. I'm sorry about that.
So let me recap that motion. I think that
Thank
that
you.
motion is to the executive committee is directed by would be directed by the board, should you vote in that way with this motion, to pursue compensation, updating compensation for members of the charter school board staff.
Yes, thank you for finishing that out nicely for me.
All right? All right, a second to that motion?
I'll second that.
All right, I'm getting second from Thompson, and Member Bassett would also second that. Others. So any discussion relative to that motion? All right, and that motion to authorize compensation discussion, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, that passes unanimously. Eric, I saw Eric say, you did say yes, didn't you, Eric?
I did say aye.
Okay.
I did.
He's muted, but I saw him nod. So I'm assuming if he didn't, he'll be waving his hand and saying, wait. Okay.
Are you ready?
We're ready for a
I'd like to make a motion to adjourn.
We're sad and happy.
motion to adjourn.
Do you know what I mean?
All right.
We're happy the meeting's over, but
We're
sad it's the last
adjourning
meeting.
to the baseball game. So we'll see you all on 13th South.
We're not adjourning to the baseball game.
Oh.
The meeting is just adjourned.
Meeting is just adjourning.
But at the baseball game will be a celebration, but
Okay.
it's not a meeting.
We're adjourning and traveling to a baseball game for those of you who would like to participate. And their lunch will be served and we'll celebrate, right?
Yes.
Okay, good. I'm gonna go get out of these
Same.
clothes into baseball clothes
Just
quickly.
Recording stopped.
Bye, Eric. Feel better.
Yes.
Yes. Bye, Eric.
Thanks, Eric. We
See you
hope you do
later.
feel better.